Hey grade 2, and welcome to Writers Workshop week 9. So this week we are going to be talking about finding details in the books that we're reading and almost looking with wide open eyes to be like a detective. So sometimes when we're reading a book, it's nice to just let the story kind of wash over us and enjoy. But when we're writing about a book, we have to be looking at it differently. We have to be looking for details very closely. So today I thought we'd try something a little different, and instead of diving straight into my letter, I'm going to read you the book I chose to write about. So we have read this book in class, but I thought it would be nice to read it again, because if I'm going to watch the book carefully, I have to go again a second time and look at it. So even though we've already read this book, I need to read it again, paying careful attention to what happens, because I want to be able to write more in my letter about this book. I don't want to just have a couple things to say, because we are turning into really great letter writers who are writing pages and pages. So without further ado, so the book I'm going to reread is The Word Collector by Peter H. Reynolds. So pay careful attention as we read, and so will I. Whoop. The Word Collector. Collectors collect things. Some people collect stamps. Some people collect coins. Others collect rocks. Some collect art. Some collect bugs. Others collect baseball cards. Some people collect comic books. And Jerome, what did he collect? Jerome collected words. Wonder. He collected words he heard. My trip to Peru was perfectly pleasant. Peru. Certain words caught his attention. He collected words he saw. Willow tea shop. Willow. Certain words jumped out at him. He collected words he read. Emerald. Certain words popped off the page. Short and sweet words. Spark, bloom, drift, dream. Two-syllable treats. Treasure, motif, whisper, glimmer, hover, candid. And multi-syllable words that sounded like little songs. Guacamole, kaleidoscope, wonderful, symphony, geometry. There were words he did not know the meaning of at first, but they were marvelous to say. Aromatic, vociferous, effervescent. There were words whose sounds were perfectly suited to their meaning. Molasses, torrential, smudge, bellow, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Jerome filled his scrapbooks with more and more of his favorite words. Jerome's collections grew. He began organizing them. Dreamy, science, sad, action, poetic. One day while transporting them, Jerome slipped and his words went flying. As he began to pick them up, he noticed his collections had become jumbled. Big words next to little words, sad words next to dreamy words. Jerome began stringing words together. Whisper, symphony, electric peace. Words he had not imagined being side by side. Savor, dreams, cascading, stars. He used his words to write poems. He used his poems to make songs. They moved. They delighted. Some of his simplest words were his most powerful. I understand. I'm sorry. Thank you. You matter. Jerome eagerly collected more and more of his favorite words. The more words he knew, the more clearly he could share with the world what he was thinking, feeling, and dreaming. One breezy afternoon, Jerome climbed the highest hill, pulling a wagon packed with his word collection. He smiled as he emptied his collection of words into the wind. He saw children in the valley below, scurrying about, collecting words from the breeze. Jerome had no words to describe how happy that made him. So, that's the book that I'm going to write a letter about today. And I just want to review some of the teaching points for this lesson. So, we're going to remember to keep in mind the things we learned from last lesson, which is how to make a stronger and more convincing letter. We need to introduce the book, write our opinions, give reasons using evidence from the book. We're going to space out, practice maybe paragraphs or different pages, and of course using those juicy story words. And today, I want to add on the skill of referring to your book. So if I'm writing about this book needs to be beside me while I'm writing, because I'm going to use this book for a couple different things. I'm going to use it so that I can spell the title and the authors correctly. Any word that's in the book should be spelled correctly in my writing. I'm also going to use it to remember the story. I don't want to just go off what's in my brain. I want to look through and remember the whole story. I want to retell parts as evidence, in which case I need exactly what happened in the book. And I want to uncover new details. And when I do that, I want to develop new ideas and opinions. So it's these last two that we're really going to talk about today. So I'm going to write a letter to Mr. Horton about this book. And I could talk to him about what happens in the book and why I like that. So here's that letter here. It says, "Dear Mr. Horton, I read a book I think you would like. It is called The Word Collector. The main character, Jerome, collects little slips of paper with a word on it. I like that because it's kind of like what I do. I help kids learn new words that they can use. I think you will like the end, but I won't spoil it by telling you what happens." Okay, this letter is perfectly fine. I'm doing all of the teaching points that we talked about, which is introducing the book. I'm talking to my reader. I didn't spoil the ending. I gave my own personal opinions about it. But since we're pushing it to the next level, we're going to see if we can do even more with it. I am going to look at this book like a detective. And I want to find a new opinion that I haven't thought of already. So I've made some observations and I've given my opinions about it. Now I'm on review. Review means look at it again. So I'm going to look through this book, and instead of just reading the words and listening to the story, I'm going to think about what is happening on that page. Maybe I'll look more carefully at the pictures. Maybe I'll reread the words more carefully. So I'm noticing at the end here that the kids are grabbing papers that have specific words on them. And I didn't really stop to read those words before, so I knew the kids were grabbing words, but I didn't know what words they were grabbing. So now that I look at more carefully, I can see some of the words they're grabbing are resilience, liberty, hope, bravery, freedom. Those are really big words. Those are inspirational words. They make you want to push hard. They're not just words of things that you might find outside, or words for colors, or words for music. Those are specific words, and they all have a lot in common. They come from the same group of words, and they're words that talk about feelings and working hard and inspirational words. So that makes me think that maybe the author was trying to send a message at the end of this book. He didn't just include random words on this page. The children are all grabbing at words that are kind of similar. So now that I've reviewed the book to find more to say, I've thought of a new thing to say. So I'm letting the details spark new ideas. Look through your book for details you might have missed. Maybe the details are in the pictures. Maybe the details are in the story. I didn't notice this last time until we read it together. The more words he knew, The more words he knew, the more clearly he could share with the world what he was thinking, feeling, and dreaming. That really stands out to me now. I think that is the point of the book, which I didn't really realize before. But the author says the more words this character has, the more he can share with the world. And as a teacher, I sometimes wonder, what's the point of teaching kids all these new words? But that's exactly what it is. The more words you have, the more clearly you can share what you're thinking. So that makes me realize that's actually the point of this book. And I didn't realize that until I really carefully reread this page. So that's what the reviewing is, and letting details spark new ideas. I want to hear your thoughts on the book. So the reason you are writing a letter is not to review the book for the teaser. So if I were to read the teaser of this book, actually this book doesn't have a teaser, but sometimes books have a little teaser on the back and it just says very quickly what the book is about. You are not writing that. You are writing a letter, and so it should have your opinion in it. I want to hear your thoughts, and I want you to prove what in the book makes you think that. Okay? So now that I've really carefully looked at the details, it sparked some new things that I could share with Mr. Horton. I realized that this letter doesn't really share much of the new things I just thought about, so I'm gonna need to write some more. So I am going to write about my new ideas using the book as evidence. So I'm going to add this whole extra bit of writing just based on what we just looked at. So that's one way I'm making my letters longer and stronger. And this is part of being a more mature writer, is that you understand what to add to your letter. You're not just telling me what happens in the book and adding pages of telling what happens. You're adding your voice to it, something that you thought of. When you look at a book, you're thinking about it in your own brain, which means it's gonna be your thoughts as you look at the book. So don't be afraid to share those thoughts. That's what makes your writing unique. So here's what I have added. When you look closely at the pictures, you can see the slips of paper have different words on them. This makes me think, okay, so I've given evidence from the book. I say exactly what happens, and then I say my opinion. This makes me think that. This is where I'm sharing my opinion. The author is sending a message in the picture too. So I've just said what I think. Now I'm going to say evidence from the text. At the end, when several children are all grabbing words for themselves, there are lots of positive/motivational words. Saying what happened in the text, here's a specific example. Some of them are hope, bravery, resilience, grace, happy. That is straight from I didn't make that up. I literally copied those words from the book. Now I'm going to say why that matters, my opinion again. These words together make me think that, it's another great sentence you can use in there, makes me think that the children might face some hard times, but they can get through it. The Word Collector is a happy book with a nice message. What do you think the author is trying to say? Okay, so at the end, I summed up what I'm saying, and then I encouraged Mr. Horton to continue the conversation by telling me what he thinks, because there's not one right way to look at a book. There's no such thing as the right way to look at a book or a piece of art or a song or a dance or any type of thing that has been created. There's no right way to look at it, which means there's no wrong way to look at it. So you might think something totally different about the Word Collector. You might think the author's trying to say something totally different. And that's okay, you're still right, as long as you can show me in the book why you think that. What evidence can you give to support that thought? So that's our lesson for today, and that's my challenge for you. I am really hoping that this week your letters are between 2 and 3 pages long. So as writers who are trying to make our pieces longer, you're thinking, how much more can I add? How much more can I add? You're looking for things in the book to spark new ideas, and then you're going to write about it in your letter. So I'll give you one last look at this in case you need to pause here to remember the steps. But other than that, I'm really excited to see the letters you guys write this week. And good luck, and I'll see you guys later.